We shape our buildings. Thereafter, they shape us. That is Winston Churchill speaking in a parliament blasted to its bones, smoke still in the rafters, benches splintered, the old chamber gone, and in that ruin he says something simple and terrifying. The rooms we build end up building us. The spaces, the structures, the habits. They become your secret rulers. So here's the question that matters tonight. What have you built around your life that's quietly shaping you right now? London, 1943. The House of Commons has been bombed out. The war is grinding on. The question on the table, how do we rebuild the chamber? Bigger, semicircular, softer, more agreeable? Churchill pushes back. He argues for the adversarial design, tight opposing benches, 2 sword lengths apart. Not because it's comfortable, but because it creates the argument that sharpens truth. He isn't designing furniture, he's designing courage. That was his point. You don't wait for bravery to show up, you trap it. You arrange your life so it has to appear. Churchill's line isn't just about architecture. It's a blueprint for your mornings, your meetings, your choices under pressure. Look around. The desk you use. The phone that lives in your hand. The people at arm's reach. They're shaping you. They are pushing you towards strength or slowly bleaching your will. What he meant then still matters now. If you want courage on your hardest days, you don't gamble on mood. You build the room that requires it. But imagine if we left it there. A nice idea about spaces. Churchill won't let us, because the war kept throwing him back into the same brutal lesson. The past wants to drag you into a fight you can't win. He put it cleanly. If we open a quarrel between the past and the present, we shall find that we have lost the future. That line lands like a hammer. The context. The summer of 1940. Dunkirk had happened. The map of Europe looked like a closing fist. Britain was alone. He stood in the House of Commons and knew that every sentence had to become a spine for a frightened nation. You cannot quarrel endlessly with yesterday, he told them, because if you do, you forfeit tomorrow. He wasn't saying forget. He was saying, don't drown in autopsies when you've got a heartbeat to save. How many times have you been there, replaying a mistake, rehearsing a conversation that ended months ago, building a case against yourself, brick by brick, until you're sealed in? Churchill's answer is ruthless in the best way. Close the quarrel. Build for the future, this hour, with what you have left. Today that could mean one call you don't want to make. One habit you finally cut off at the root. One conversation you stop reliving and start redirecting. And when the mind says, I can't, Churchill had a private rule he wrote in letters and repeated in rooms where the air smelled like fear and tobacco. KBO. Keep buggering on. It isn't elegant. It isn't polite. It's not the kind of line you stitch on pillows, but it kept him moving through nights that would snap most people in half. KBO is the opposite of drama. It's the sound of boots scuffing down a corridor at 3 a.m. Again. It's the pencil underlining a line in a report because one more round of facts might mean one more life saved. For us, it's 10 more minutes of the work that matters when your feelings have packed their bags and left. It's getting up again after the email that took your breath away. You want a practical translation? KBO means you decide in advance what happens when you don't feel like it. Not in theory. Exactly. When the alarm goes off, the phone goes in the drawer. When the meeting turns, your voice stays steady and short. When the craving hits, you drink water and stand up and walk outside for 90 seconds. That is not weakness. That's a wartime plan. That's Churchill, in a blacked-out London, whispering, don't dramatize. Just move the next piece. Keep buggering on. But the story isn't only the grind. There's a moment that snaps the air in half. August, 1940. Fighter Command is holding off a storm of bombers. The island is a target painted in the brightest, cruelest colors. And Churchill steps in front of the microphone and says it. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. The few. Pilots climbing into hurricanes. Ground crews with oil on their hands and no sleep in their eyes. Teenagers with engines for armor. That line is gratitude as strategy. He wasn't merely praising heroism. He was directing attention, telling a nation where to look when panic wanted to take over. See the few. Hold the line for them. Build your hope on real people doing real work under unbelievable pressure. We forget that rule in our own lives. We try to be a one-person Air Force. We try to be the leader, the crew, the mechanic, the radar, the runway, the weather, and then we wonder why we're spiraling. Churchill's lesson is to cultivate your few, the handful who carry you when you cannot lift yourself. Name them, protect them, tell them, and when you face your personal bombardment, aim your eyes there. Let their effort pull you forward another hour. You can feel how these pieces click together, shape your environment so courage has to appear. End the unwinnable fight with yesterday, KBO when the story gets ugly. Lean on your few. They sound simple. But Churchill understood something about complexity. He wrote, "Out of intense complexities, intense simplicities emerge." In other words, the more tangled the situation, the more you need to cut down to the bone and seize the one necessity. What was the simplicity for him? Victory. Not as a slogan, as an organizing principle. When the map turned black, he asked one question: what moves us 1 inch closer to survival today? That simplicity stripped out vanity projects. It canceled meetings. It sharpened priorities. In your life, name your intense simplicity. It might be recovery. It might be providing for your family without burning out. It might be writing the book that won't let you sleep. Once it's named, everything that does not move you 1 inch closer gets demoted. This is not unkind. It is merciful to your future. There's another rule Churchill carried like a weight and a gift. The price of greatness is responsibility, not fame, not applause, not image, responsibility. The willingness to be answerable for outcomes you cannot perfectly control because the mission matters more than your comfort. He didn't say that to be dramatic. He lived it. He took blame when he could have spread it. He stood where the decisions could break him. He accepted the price. Where does that leave us? Not with speeches, with a practice, with a room you can walk into tomorrow. Watch how Churchill's moments become your plan. Start at the door. We shape our buildings. Thereafter, they shape us. Change one piece of your environment that nudges you toward the person you mean to be. Put the book within reach, not the phone. Put your running shoes where your excuses used to live. Arrange your desk so work happens and doom scrolling doesn't. Make the room a quiet dare. Then, when the past tries to pick another fight, because it will, answer Churchill's warning. If we open a quarrel between the past and the present, we shall find that we have lost the future. Write down one sentence that defines your future focus. Tape it where you have to see it. Repeat it when the loop starts. This is where I'm going. This is what matters next. Close the quarrel. And when the night gets long, remember the rule with the rough edges. KBO. Build it into your calendar like a stubborn friend. Block a 10-minute box labeled exactly that. When you hit it, don't think. Stand up. Take one meaningful action. Send the message. Outline the page. Fold the laundry if that's your battlefield today. Nothing heroic, just obedient to the mission. At the same time, find your few. Who pulls you back from the edge? Who tells you the truth? Who shows up at 10 p.m. with the crappy coffee and the good jokes and the courage to ask, what do you need? Churchill didn't win the war. No one does, alone. But he knew how to look at the people who were carrying him, and he made the nation look too. Finally, name the price you're willing to pay. Responsibility is not romantic. It is heavy. It means taking ownership of outcomes even when you can't guarantee success. It means saying, if it goes wrong, I'm still here. That posture doesn't crush you. It clarifies you. You feel the weight, and that weight gives you traction. Here's a small test you can try within the next 24 hours. Think like the war room. Open a notebook. Draw a line down the middle. On the left, intensity. On the right, simplicity. List the tangled pieces of your challenge on the left. Then force yourself to write one sentence on the right that captures the simplicity that should command the next week. Not 5 items. 1. Out of intense complexities, intense simplicity. That line saves energy. It throws off ballast. It lets you fly in bad weather. And then, because it all comes back to movement. Tie it off with the old, ungentle rule. KBO. The skies are not going to clear just because you waited. They clear while you're in motion. The radar becomes a picture while you move. The team finds rhythm while you move. The fear learns your name while you move. Keep buggering on. Mid-roll moment, quick and real. Who are your few right now? The 2 or 3 people whose steady effort keeps you in the fight. Tell me in the comments so we can honor them by name. And if this helped you tighten your resolve tonight, tap like and subscribe. This channel is where we turn hard history into strength you can use. Back to the story, because there's a final image that deserves to live in your head. The chamber rebuilt, the lines drawn, the benches facing each other like 2 clenched fists. The ceiling simple, the light measured. A room designed to make arguments crash into each other until the strongest carries the day. That wasn't nostalgia. It was ruthlessly practical. Build the room that makes the work possible. What would that look like in your life? If courage is your craft, how would you arrange the tools? Maybe it's a calendar that protects 2 unbroken hours every morning. Maybe it's a front door that opens to a 10-minute walk before you look at any screen. Maybe it's 3 rules taped to a fridge so your home speaks before your mood does. That is Churchill's design. Not pretty, effective. And when you stumble, when you do the thing you swore you wouldn't, when you stare at the ceiling at 2 a.m., hear the voice that refused to let a nation drown in yesterday's quarrel. The past can counsel, but it cannot command. Turn your face where the light might break. Ask the only question that counts. What moves me 1 inch toward the future I'm responsible for? There's one more sentence I want you to keep, like a match in your pocket. It comes from that same summer when the world looked ready to end. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duties. You know the rest. He closes by imagining 1,000 years and the words men might say about their finest hour. He didn't say it to decorate history. He said it to raise the temperature in the room just enough that people remembered they were alive. Duties. That unfashionable word. The kind that gives you a spine when you've bent too long. So brace yourself, not in fear, but in readiness. You will not be elegant this week. You will not glide. But you will build the room, end the quarrel, name the simplicity, take the responsibility, lean on your few, and keep moving through the dark. And when you do, you might discover something Churchill knew in his bones. Resilience is less about a mood and more about a design. You build it, and then it builds you. One last look at that bomb chamber. Stone, smoke, silence. From that silence came a set of choices, and from those choices, a nation that somehow survived the weather of history. You don't need a nation. You need a day. You need one set of choices that makes tomorrow possible. You are not alone in that room. Many have stood there, soaked and tired, hands shaking, ready to quit. They found a way. You will too. Not because you're lucky, not because the path will open by magic, but because you will do the small, ordinary, unglamorous thing that turns history's wheel a notch. We shape our buildings. Thereafter, they shape us. Go shape yours, and let it shape the person you're becoming. The rest will come in its time, and when it does, you'll be the one who kept going.